Hello, welcome to the Optimum Forex. In this video, today we are discuss about the weekly Forex analysis and the gold. So before we start our analysis, let's look at the upcoming week economic calendar. On Monday, we have a Swiss franc CPI data. It's very important. On Tuesday, we have a New Zealand inflation expectation quarterly and the pound climate count change, and the US CPI data monthly and US CPI data yearly and the core CPI monthly, which is very important data for the US dollar as well as the whole market. This is the main event for this upcoming week. And Wednesday, we have a RBA governor lowest peak and the pound CPI yearly data, as well as the US core retail sale, Empire State Manufacturing Index, and the retail sale monthly data. On Thursday, we have a Aussie employment change and the Aussie unemployment rate data. Aussie unemployment rate is the very important data for the Aussie, and the US core PPI monthly and the PPI monthly data is very important. On Friday, we have a RBA government lowest peak and the pound retail sale monthly data, which is very important for the pound perspective. And Friday, we have a light economic calendar. So let's begin. Our first pair is Euro USD. If you look at the Euro USD right now, Euro USD break below the 1.07117 psychological number and moving towards the 1.06500 psychological number. But Euro USD respect this level and gain some rebound towards the 1.0800 psychological number, but it respect the 1.800 psychological number and again break below the 1.07117 psychological number and moving towards the 1.6500 psychological number. If the Euro USD break below this level 1.06500 psychological number, our next target should be the 1.0500 psychological number. But you have to keep in mind that on Tuesday we have a US CPI data. If the US CPI data favor the US dollar, then it's break the 1.06500 psychological number and moving towards the 1.0500 psychological number. But if the US CPI data is unfavorable for the US dollar, then we see some aggressive rebound towards the 1.0800 psychological number, and we can see it's break its level and moving towards the 1.08500 psychological number. So, but keep in mind that on Monday, suppose Euro USD we see some consolidation around this area before the CPI data release. So our next pair is pound USD. So if you look at the pound USD break below the 1.2110 psychological number and moving towards the 1.1900 psychological number. But before reaching this number, pound USD respect the 1.19500 psychological number and we saw some rebound towards the 1.220 psychological number. After retesting this level, the pound USD break below the 1.2110 psychological number. So our next target should be the 1.1900 psychological number. But you have to keep in mind the US CPI data. We have to wait for the US CPI data. If the US CPI data favor the US dollar, then this will happen and the bearish momentum can continue for the pound USD. Pound USD is my favorite pair for the trading. So if you enter this trade After the CPI data, if the CPI data favor, then you have to enter this trade and your stop loss should be the 1.2100 around this area. So our next pair is USD yen. So if you look at the USD yen respect the 132.996 psychological level and break below the 132.500 level, and it also break the 131.00 level, and after break this level we see some consolidation around this zone, and it some momentum it's break near the 131.00 psychological number and moving toward the 129.600 psychological number, but it respect the USD yen level and again break above the 131.00 psychological number. As you see that we are in a consolidation zone. So after the CPI data, if the US dollar gains some momentum, then we see USD yen break this consolidation zone as well as the 132.996 level and moving towards the 134.00 psychological number. If it is unfavorable, if the CPI data is unfavorable for the USD yen, then it's break below this consolidation zone and our target should be the 128.00 psychological number. So our next pair is USD Swiss franc. If you look at the USD Swiss franc, we saw USD Swiss franc retesting the 0.92880 psychological number and did not break above this area, then retesting this level and break below this area 91920 and moving towards the 0.91500 psychological number. After respecting this level, it's again rise above the 0.91920 psychological number and moving towards the 0.92880 psychological number. So if the CPI data is favorable for the US dollar, it breaks this level and you can enter this trade, and your first target should be the 0.93500 psychological number, and the second target should be the 0.9400 psychological number. If the CPI data is unfavorable for the US dollar, then your first target should be the 91500 psychological number downwards, and second target should be the 0.90500 psychological number. So next pair, Aussie USD. If you look at the Aussie USD right now, Aussie USD break below the 0.69200 psychological number and moving towards the 0.68600 psychological number. After reaching this area, Aussie USD gain some rebound and moving towards the 0.6990 psychological number. But after reaching this area, Aussie USD felt to gain his momentum and moving downwards to the 0.69200 psychological number. If you see that Aussie USD until retesting this level again and again, 0.69200 psychological number. So we have a two major data for this week. One is the Aussie unemployment rate, one is the US CPI. So before the Aussie unemployment rate, we have the US CPI. If the US CPI data is favorable for the US dollar, then it's break this level and moving towards the 0.68600 psychological number and also break the 0.68400 psychological number and moving towards the 0.6500 psychological number. But if the US dollar CPI data is unfavorable, then we see some rebound around this 0.70500 psychological number and also break this area and waiting for the Aussie unemployment rate. So let's focus only the US CPI data on Tuesday, which is very important for the whole market flow. So our last analysis is was XAUUSD or gold. The gold, if you see the gold right now, the gold, they expect the 18600 psychological number. And if you see that there is a consolidation zone right now and it did not break this level 18600 psychological number and keep consolidating in area. So it's completely waiting for the 2 US CPI. If US dollar gain some momentum after the CPI data, then the gold break this level and moving downwards to the 1825.00 psychological number. But if the CPI data is unfavorable for the US dollar, then we see some aggressive pullback around the 1900.966 psychological number, or it's also break this level and consolidation this area. But keep in mind that before the US CPI data, if you see the gold break the 18600 psychological number, then you have to continue this trade as a short term, but don't enter this trade as a long term perspective. So if you want to enter this trade, then enter in 30-minute time frame for the day trading, not for the long term trading. So you have to wait for the US CPI data. After the US CPI data, if the all data is favorable for the US dollar, then you have to enter this trade for the bearish perspective. Sell, you have to take this opportunity as a sell. If your data is not favorable for the US dollar, then you have to wait and watch the market momentum right now. So don't be aggressive. So that's all. Thank you.